The unexpected arrival, the alarm systems of Nexus Prime had never sounded like this before. Deep, resonating pulses echoed through the massive space station's corridors, causing the crystalline walls to vibrate with an urgency that made even the most seasoned council members pause in their daily routines. High Counselor Zexstar, his scaled green skin rippling with concern, slithered quickly toward the central command chamber, his serpentine lower body moving with practiced efficiency across the polished floors. Nexus Prime was the crown jewel of galactic civilization, a station so vast it could house the populations of 3 small planets. For over 5,000 years, it had served as the seat of the Galactic Council, where representatives from 47 different species gathered to maintain order across the known galaxy. Every decision that shaped the lives of trillions of beings was made within these walls, following protocols that had been refined over millennia. As Zexstar entered the command chamber, he found chaos where there should have been calm precision. Ambassador Crindle, whose aquatic species communicated through bioluminescent patterns across their translucent skin, was flashing rapid sequences of orange and red light scolors that indicated extreme distress. The other council members present were equally agitated, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of sounds, lights, and pheromones that would have overwhelmed any single species. "Report," Zexstar commanded, his voice carrying the authority of his position. The room fell silent, all attention turning to the central holographic display that dominated the chamber. Commander Vithron, the station's security chief, stepped forward. His insectoid features were rigid with tension. "High Counselor, we have detected an unauthorized vessel approaching our coordinates. It appeared without warning, seemingly from nowhere." Zexstar's yellow eyes narrowed. "Impossible, our detection. Systems monitor hyperspace corridors across half the galaxy. Nothing approaches Nexus Prime without our knowledge." "That is what we believed as well," Vithron replied, his mandibles clicking nervously. "But observe the readings." The holographic display shifted to show sensor data that made no sense. The approaching vessel registered on their instruments, but the readings contradicted everything they knew about physics. The ship appeared to be moving faster than light without using any known method of faster-than-light travel. It generated no hyperspace distortions, no quantum tunnel signatures, no temporal displacement fields. "What species does this vessel belong to?" Zexstar asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Unknown," Vithron admitted. "The design matches no ship in our extensive databases. The materials appear to be standard metallic alloys, but the configuration is unlike anything we have encountered." Ambassador Crindle's skin flashed a deep blue pattern, indicating thoughtful concern. "Could this be a new species attempting first contact? If so, they are violating every established protocol," Zexstar replied. "First contact requires extensive preparation, cultural exchange through intermediaries, and formal application for audience with the Council. This is unprecedented." The ship continued its approach, completely ignoring the dozens of warning broadcasts being transmitted in every known language. Standard procedure would have been to deploy defensive measures, but something about the vessel's confident approach made the Council hesitate. There was no aggression in its movements, no weapons, signatures, no signs of hostility. It simply continued forward with a determination that spoke of absolute certainty. "Distance to intercept?" Zexstar asked. 30 minutes at current speed," Vithron reported. "High Counselor, I recommend we deploy the defensive fleet." "No," Zexstar said after a moment's consideration. "Not yet. If this is a new species, We must handle this carefully. A single ship poses no threat to Nexus Prime. Allow them to approach, but maintain full defensive readiness. As the minutes passed, more details about the mysterious vessel became clear. It was relatively small compared to the massive ships typically used for interstellar travel, no larger than a Council diplomatic cruiser. The hull was a dark metallic color that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, giving the ship an almost ghostly appearance against the starfield. Most puzzling of all, it appeared to be carrying a crew of only a few dozen individuals, far fewer than would be expected for a ship capable of interstellar travel. "High Counselor," came a voice from the communications station. "We are receiving a transmission from the vessel." "Put it through," Zextar ordered. The central holographic display shifted to show the interior of the unknown ship's bridge. The Council members collectively drew back in surprise. The beings on the screen were unlike any species they had encountered. They stood upright on two legs, had bilateral symmetry, and possessed what appeared to be external coverings over their natural skin. But it was their eyes that captured attention, bright, intelligent, and filled with a determination that seemed to burn like small stars. A female of the species stepped forward, her bearing confident and authoritative. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force, Ship Resilience. We request permission to dock with your station." The directness of the statement caught the Council off guard. There were no formal greetings, no acknowledgement of Council authority, no expression of humble respect. This Admiral Chen spoke as if she were addressing equals rather than the supreme governing body of the galaxy. Zextar activated the transmission system. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Council space without authorization. You must identify your species and state your intentions." Admiral Chen's expression remained unchanged. "We are humans from the planet Earth. We have come to establish diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. That is not how first contact protocols work," Zextar replied, his voice carrying a note of authority that had caused emperors to bow. "New species must be evaluated for compatibility with galactic civilization. They must demonstrate cultural stability, technological advancement, and social harmony before being considered for Council membership." The human admiral seemed almost amused by this statement. "We're not asking to join your council. We're informing you that we exist and that we intend to be part of this galaxy's future. Whether that's as allies or as something else is up to you." The boldness of the statement sent ripples of shock through the chamber. No species had ever spoken to the Council with such casual confidence. Even the most powerful civilizations approached the Council with respect and humility. "You misunderstand your position," Zextar said, his voice growing cold. "We are the governing authority of this galaxy. We decide which species are permitted to expand beyond their home systems. We evaluate civilizations for their readiness to join galactic society." Admiral Chen exchanged a glance with someone off-screen before responding. "With respect, Counselor, we didn't ask for your permission to exist. We're here as a courtesy, to let you know that humans are now part of the galactic community. We can work together, or we can work around you, but we're not going away." The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. Commander Vithran was the first to speak. "High Counselor, this is unacceptable. They must be taught proper respect for Council authority." But Zextar was studying the display showing the human ship. Something about their casual confidence troubled him. In his 5 centuries of service to the Council, he had never encountered a species that displayed such absolute certainty when facing the unknown. Every other species, upon learning of the Council's existence, had either fled in terror or approached. With careful diplomacy, these humans seemed to regard the Council as simply another factor to be considered in their plans. "Scan their ship more thoroughly," he ordered. "I want to know everything about their technology." The results were disturbing. The human vessel's power readings were off the charts, but the energy signatures were unlike anything in their databases. They appeared to be using some form of fusion-based propulsion system, but the efficiency levels were theoretically impossible. More concerning was the fact that the ship's hull was composed of materials that their scanners couldn't properly identify. "How is this possible?" Zextar muttered to himself. "No species develops such advanced technology without being detected by our monitoring systems." Ambassador Crindle Eskin displayed a pattern of silver and blue, indicating deep thoughtfulness. "Perhaps we should hear what they have to say before making any decisions." Before Zextar could respond, another alarm sounded. This time it was the proximity alerther. "Human ship was requesting docking clearance. Asterisk. They're not waiting for our response," Vithrin observed with obvious irritation. "They're proceeding to dock whether we grant permission or not." Through the massive viewing ports of the command chamber, the Council members could see the human ship approaching one of the station's docking bays. It moved with a precision that spoke of advanced piloting skills and complete confidence in their technology. The ship's landing was flawless, executed with a competence that would have impressed even the most skilled Council pilots. "Security. Teams to Docking Bay 7, Zextar ordered. Full diplomatic protection protocols." "High Counselor," Vithrin said carefully. "Perhaps we should consider that these humans might be more dangerous than they appear." Zextar's eyes remained fixed on the docking bay display. "That is exactly what I am considering." Within minutes, the human delegation was making its way through the station's corridors. The security feeds showed a small group of beings moving. With military precision, their strange external coverings apparently serving as both protection and display of rank. They carried no visible weapons, but their movements suggested combat training and readiness. Leading the group was Admiral Chen, flanked by a male human who appeared to be a pilot and a female human carrying what looked like scientific equipment. They moved through the station as if they owned it, showing no sign of the awe or intimidation that typically affected first-time visitors to Nexus Prime. "They're not impressed," observed Council Member Tavor, whose species was known for their ability to read emotional states in other beings. "They're evaluating everything they see, but they show no fear, no wonder, no submission." The human delegation arrived at the Council chamber doors exactly on schedule. As they entered, the full majesty of the chamber was revealed, a vast circular space with representatives from dozens of species arranged in ascending tiers, all focused on the central speaking area. The walls were covered with the artistic achievements of 100 civilizations, and the air itself seemed to hum with the weight of ancient authority. Admiral Chen stepped into the center of the chamber and looked around with the same expression someone might use when entering a conference room. Her two companions took positions slightly behind her, their eyes constantly scanning the assembled council members with professional alertness. "Greetings," Admiral Chen said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen, representing the human species and our home world of Earth. With me are Captain Marcus Torres, our pilot and tactical officer, and Dr. Elena Vasquez, our chief scientist and cultural liaison." The formality of the introduction was proper, but the tone was all wrong. These humans spoke as if they were addressing business partners rather than the supreme authority of galactic civilization. Zextar rose to his full height, his imposing form casting a shadow over the speaking area. You have approached the Council in violation of established protocols. You have ignored our warnings and demands for proper identification. You have shown disrespect for the governing authority of this galaxy. Admiral Chen looked up at him without flinching. We've shown you exactly the same respect you've shown us. We came here to talk, not to bow. The statement sent waves of shock through the assembled council members. Several species began displaying signs of outrage through their various communication methods. The chamber filled with angry sounds, lights, and scents as the council reacted to what many saw as an unforgivable insult. You dare speak to the council in such a manner? Demanded Council Member Crichton, whose crystalline form was glowing with indignation. We are the representatives of civilizations spanning thousands of worlds. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward slightly, and we represent a species that has survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed most civilizations. We've rebuilt our world from ruins more times than we can count. We're not easily impressed by age or size. Captain Torres added, we've studied your records, your histories, your technologies. We know what you've accomplished. It's impressive, but we're not here to ask permission to exist. Zextar felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. These humans were unlike any species the Council had encountered. They showed no fear of authority, no desire to fit into existing power structures, no willingness to accept subordinate status. They spoke as if they considered themselves equals to civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. What do you want? He asked finally. Admiral Chen smiled, and something about that expression made several council members shift uncomfortably. We want to participate in galactic civilization. We want to trade, to learn, to share knowledge and culture. We want to be part of building a better future for all species. And if we refuse, Zextar asked, then we'll build our own future. Admiral Chen replied without hesitation. We didn't come here to ask permission. We came here to offer partnership. The choice is yours. The chamber fell silent as the full implications of the statement sank in. These humans weren't requesting admission to galactic society, they were announcing their intention to be part of it regardless of council approval. They were offering cooperation, but they were also making it clear that they would proceed with their own agenda, whether the council agreed or not. For the first time in the council's long history, they were facing a species that couldn't be intimidated, couldn't be controlled, and couldn't be dismissed. The humans had arrived not as supplicants, but as equals who intended to reshape the galaxy's future, and the council was beginning to realize they weren't ready for what that meant. Asterisk breaking. All the rules, the tension in the council chamber had become so thick it was almost tangible. High Counselor Zextar found himself in a position he had never experienced before, facing beings who seemed completely immune to the authority that had governed the galaxy for millennia. The humans stood in the center of the chamber with the same casual confidence they had displayed since their arrival, as if they were discussing weather patterns rather than challenging the fundamental order of galactic civilization. You speak of partnership, Zextar said, his voice carrying the weight of countless diplomatic negotiations, but you arrive without invitation, ignore our protocols, and show no respect for the established order. How can we trust a species that demonstrates such disregard for law and custom? Admiral Chen's expression remained steady. Because we're not asking you to trust us based on our compliance with your rules. We're asking you to trust us based on our actions and our results. Results Councilmember Vithran interjected, his insectoid features showing skepticism. You have shown us nothing but defiance. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, her scientific equipment beeping softly. Actually, we've shown you quite a lot. Your station's power grid, for instance, is operating at only 67% efficiency. Your quantum processing cores are generating thermal waste that's creating microfractures in your hull plating. And your defensive systems have 17 critical vulnerabilities that any reasonably advanced species could exploit. The chamber erupted in shocked conversations. The idea that these newcomers had analyzed Nexus Prime's systems in the short time since their arrival was both impressive and terrifying. That's impossible, Commander Vithran protested. Our systems are protected by quantum encryption and psychic barriers. No external scanning could penetrate our defenses. Captain Torres smiled grimly. We didn't scan from the outside. We've been monitoring your energy signatures, communication patterns, and structural harmonics since we arrived. Your technology is advanced, but it follows predictable patterns. Humans excel at finding patterns and exploiting them. Zexstar felt a chill run down his spine. You're saying you've compromised our security systems. We're saying we understand them, Admiral Chen replied. And understanding leads to solutions. Dr. Vasquez, show them what we found. The human scientist activated her equipment, and suddenly the chamber's main display showed detailed schematics of Nexus Prime's internal systems. But these weren't just diagnostic readings, they were improved designs. The humans had not only analyzed the station's technology, but had also developed enhancements that would increase efficiency by 40% and eliminate the structural weaknesses. This is what humans do, Dr. Vasquez explained as she manipulated the display. We see problems and we fix them. We don't just accept that things are the way they are, we make them better. Ambassador Crindle's skin flashed a pattern of deep blue and silver, indicating profound consideration. These improvements, they would require technologies we don't possess. Actually, they would require technologies you already have, Captain Torres corrected. You just haven't thought to combine them in these ways. Humans have a talent for synthesis, taking existing elements and creating something new. The council members exchanged glances filled with uncertainty. This was not how first contact was supposed to proceed. New species were meant to be evaluated, guided, and gradually integrated into galactic society. They were not supposed to arrive with solutions to problems the Council didn't even know existed. Even if your technical analysis is correct, Zexstar said carefully, that doesn't address the fundamental issue. Galactic civilization requires order, hierarchy, and respect for established authority. Your species appears to lack these qualities. Admiral Chen's eyes hardened slightly. Our species has survived because we don't blindly follow authority. We've learned that true leadership earns respect through competence, not through titles or tradition. That attitude will lead to chaos, Councilmember Crichton declared, his crystalline form glowing with agitation. Every species must find its place in the galactic order. There are established procedures for integration, evaluation periods, probationary status, and how long do those procedures take? Dr. Vasquez interrupted. For the last species you admitted. The question hung in the air uncomfortably. The truth was that the Council's last admission of a new species had taken nearly 3 centuries, and that was considered relatively fast. The Veltar required 237 years of evaluation, Zexstar admitted reluctantly. Such careful consideration ensures stability and prevents conflicts. 237 years, Captain Torres repeated. In that time, humanity went from horse-drawn carriages to interstellar travel. We don't have the luxury of thinking in centuries. We solve problems now. As if to emphasize his point, an alarm began sounding throughout the station. The emergency lighting activated, and the chamber's main display shifted to show a critical alert message. One of the station's primary fusion reactors was experiencing a cascade failure that could potentially destroy an entire section of Nexus. Prime, emergency teams to Reactor Bay 4, came the announcement over the communication system. All non-essential personnel evacuate surrounding sectors. The council members began activating their various communication devices, coordinating the response with the efficiency born of long practice. But even as they worked, there was an undercurrent of tension. This type of failure was exactly what they had been trying to prevent with their careful, methodical approach to technology. How long until the reactor breaches? Zexstar demanded. 18 minutes, Commander Vithran reported. We're implementing emergency shutdown procedures, but the cascade is accelerating faster than our models predicted. Admiral Chen looked at her two companions, and some form of silent communication passed between them. Dr. Vasquez, can you interface with their systems? Already on it, the scientist replied, her equipment now displaying streams of data that seemed to flow directly from the station's computers. Captain Torres, I need a direct quantum link to the reactor's control matrix. Got it, Torres said, pulling out a device that looked nothing like any technology the Council had seen before. Link established. Admiral, they're right, the cascade is accelerating, but the pattern is familiar, similar to the Titan station. Incident, Admiral Chen asked. Identical, Torres confirmed. Same resonance frequency, same cascade pattern. We know how to stop this. Dr. Vasquez was already working, her fingers flying over controls that somehow interfaced perfectly with the station's systems. I'm implementing the Tokyo solution. It should stabilize the reaction within 4 minutes. The council members watched in amazement as the humans worked with a speed and efficiency that seemed impossible. They weren't just responding to the crisis, they were solving it using methods that apparently drew from their own experience with similar problems. What is the Tokyo solution? Zexstar asked. A method we developed after a reactor failure nearly destroyed one of our orbital stations, Admiral Chen explained while monitoring her team's work. We learned that cascade failures follow predictable patterns. Instead of trying to shut down the reaction, you redirect the energy into a controlled burn that actually increases efficiency while eliminating the instability. That's theoretically impossible, Council Member Tavor protested. The energy requirements alone are met by the cascade energy itself. Dr. Vasquez interrupted. You're not fighting the reaction, you're guiding it. The energy that would have destroyed the reactor instead becomes a more efficient fuel source. On the main display, the emergency alerts began changing from red to yellow to green. The cascade failure was not only stopping it, was transforming into something beneficial. The reactor's output was actually increasing while the dangerous instabilities disappeared. Reactor Bay 4 is stabilized, Commander Vithran announced, his voice filled with disbelief. Not only stabilized, it's operating at 112% normal efficiency. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. In less than 5 minutes, the humans had solved a crisis that would have taken the Council's best engineers hours to address. And they had done it in a way that actually improved the station's performance. How? Zexstar asked simply. Admiral Chen looked around the chamber, her expression serious. Because we've faced similar crises before. Because we don't have the luxury of perfect systems or unlimited time. Because we've learned that survival depends on adapting quickly to changing situations. But more importantly, Dr. Vasquez added, because we don't see problems as obstacles to be avoided. We see them as opportunities to create something better. Captain Torres deactivated his device and looked up at the assembled council. Your technology is impressive, but it's designed to maintain the status quo. Human technology is designed to overcome limitations. The statement hit the council like a physical blow. For millennia, their approach to governance had been based on stability, predictability, and the preservation of established order. The humans were suggesting that this approach was fundamentally flawed. You're proposing chaos, Zextar said, but his voice lacked its earlier certainty. We're proposing adaptation, Admiral Chen replied. The galaxy is changing whether you acknowledge it or not. New species are developing, new technologies are emerging, new challenges are arising. You can either adapt and grow, or you can be left behind. Ambassador Crindle, Eskin flashed a pattern that indicated deep contemplation. What you're describing would require fundamental changes to how we govern. Not changes to how you govern, Dr. Vasquez corrected. Changes to what you govern. Instead of managing static systems, you could be facilitating dynamic growth. Instead of preventing change, you could be guiding it. The council members looked at each other with expressions of uncertainty and possibility. The humans had demonstrated something that challenged everything they thought they knew about civilization and progress. And if we refuse, Zextar asked, though the question now carried a different weight. Admiral Chun's smile held both warmth and determination. Then we'll continue developing on our own. We'll solve problems as they arise, adapt to new challenges, and build the future we think is worth creating. Other species will notice. Some will want to join us. Eventually, you'll have to choose whether to be part of that future or to remain isolated in your perfect, unchanging past. The truth of the statement was undeniable. The humans had demonstrated capabilities that would attract attention from other species. Their approach to problem-solving, their willingness to take risks, their ability to innovate rapidly, these were qualities that would appeal to civilizations that felt constrained by the Council's rigid procedures. What exactly are you proposing? Zextar asked. Partnership, Admiral Chen replied. Not membership in your council, but collaboration between equals. We share our approaches to problem-solving. You share your accumulated knowledge and resources. Together, we build something better than either of us could create alone. And if problems arise from this collaboration, Captain Torres grinned, then we solve those problems too. That's what humans do. The chamber remained silent as the council members processed this unprecedented situation. These humans had arrived uninvited, ignored established protocols, solved a critical crisis in minutes, and proposed a form of relationship that had never existed in galactic history. They had demonstrated that they were not just another species seeking admission to galactic civilization. They were a force that would reshape that civilization, whether the council participated or not. Dr. Vasquez gathered her equipment, her analysis of the station's systems complete. We've uploaded the technical specifications for the improvements we discussed. Consider them a gift proof that cooperation benefits everyone. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Admiral Chen turned back to address the council one final time. We're not asking you to abandon your principles or your traditions. We're asking you to expand them. The galaxy is vast enough for multiple approaches to civilization. Let's build something worthy of that vastness. The humans left the chamber with the same confidence they had displayed throughout their visit. They had come not as supplicants, but as equals, not as students, but as teachers, not as followers, but as leaders of their own destiny. In the silence that followed their departure, the council members began to realize that the galaxy had changed irrevocably. Humanity had arrived, and they had brought with them a new way of thinking about progress, innovation, and the future itself. The question was no longer whether the Council would accept humanity into galactic civilization. The question was whether galactic civilization would be able to adapt to the changes that humanity would inevitably bring. Asterisk.